Welcome to Inside the Red Zone with Coach Smith and Mrs. Coach. Hey, before we get started, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button for me. In today's podcast, you're going to hear from the host of WNSP's Final Drive. His routine preparing for his show, his love for broadcasting and sports, and his face. Welcome to the show, my good friend, Corey LaBounty.
Thank you guys for having me. A wonderful setup here. I'm glad to be inside the red zone.
Exactly. Corey LaBounty, we're so excited to have you on and to have you here in Coach's Cave. I mean, he's used to being in the studio, guys. You're going to hear the story, but like he's live in the studio. You're going to have to listen to his drive time show. But this is an honor.
Man, I'm telling you. So we're kind of flipping around a little bit. Corey usually asking questions. We're going to be asking him questions tonight. And I promise you, it's going to get intense. Because, man, he is my type of guy. He loves sports, loves getting into it. And we sort of got the same demeanor sometimes. So, man, we're so excited to have Corey LaBounty in the Coach's Cave tonight, man. What a great honor.
Coach, I'm telling you, the cave is set up just right inside the red zone in the cave. I mean, it's just wide open. You and your wife both. Thank you guys for having me. And it's a pleasure to be joining.
Yeah, outstanding, man.
Well, I want to kick it off first. And Corey, I want to know just a little bit, and I want you to help share with our network and our audience just a little bit about you. Like, where'd you come from? How long have you been in Mobile? And just give us just a little bit of backstory.
Well, I've been in Mobile since I was 4 years old. My mom and dad moved from Nashville, Tennessee. They worked for the University of South Alabama. My mom, she was a professor in South Alabama. My dad worked as a hematologist at South Alabama and came on down from Nashville. And at 4, Mobile, Alabama is home. And I grew up in the public school system here, Mobile County Public School System, went to John Will because I lived out in West Mobile. So went from John Will to Hillsdale Middle School and finished up at LaFleur. So basically my entire life has been spent right here in Mobile, Alabama.
Man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is.
I mean, true Mobilian.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a true Mobilian.
True Mobilian.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why he knows so much of the history, maybe.
Yeah, and that's part of it. I mean, when you have roots and you get connected and you get a chance to be around as long as I have, as far as being at the time growing up, you love all sports, and just my mom and dad really blessed me, the right place, right time. Mobile, Alabama became home, and it's going to be home forever.
Yeah. Now, I'm not going to hold this against you, Corey, but you know, John Will is right around the corner from Shaw High School. So I don't understand, man. I ain't going to get you, but you know, I'm a Shaw guy. I went to Shaw, coach Shaw. I got a lot of Shaw in me.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm going to forgive you going to LaFleur, man.
Look, Mr. Lowry, Albert Lowry says the same thing. He forgives me. He gets mad at me all the time. He's like, Corey, you know you were supposed to become and be a Shaw Rebel, and you decided to go chase the round ball at LaFleur, and you decided to put us down. I said, nothing personal, Mr. Lowry. I love you, and I still love Shaw and pull for Shaw, except when they were playing LaFleur.
I got you. But you know what? You're going to, a little bit later in the show, we're going to talk about our Shaw days, but you know, it comes back around. He ended up being at Shaw. That's right. Later in his career. All right, man. Moving right along, Corey. Talk about how you got into broadcasting, man. Tell us a story on that.
Well, you know, I first of all, my mom told me I was always loquacious, very talkative as a baby. She said I talk too much. And as soon as I learned how to talk and formulate sentences, I wouldn't shut up. So I love to communicate. I love people, and being able to communicate effectively was something that my mom and dad really emphasized. And being able to experience, to hear and to listen and to be able to communicate was a gift that God gave me. And I love the fact that he gave me the ability to communicate through sports. And it just so happened my mom and dad put me in sports at a very young age, to where being around sports, playing sports, you know, growing up, there were maybe 4 or 5 channels that you could turn to. There was not 300 channels that you could sit and watch. So when sports were on, you wanted to watch sports, you wanted to be a part of sports, you wanted to see football and basketball. And when the Olympics would come around every 4 years, It was a huge event in our household. So just wanted to be a part of sports. Wasn't the greatest athlete growing up, was never the tallest, the fastest, the strongest, just average. And just that's where getting into the communications part of it, the broadcasting part of it, I knew that one day that my playing days were probably going to end in high school. I wasn't going to be a collegiate superstar. Wasn't going to go JUCO. Wasn't going to Division 1, 2, or 3. So there were other outlets that I wanted to still find to where I could still enjoy all the sports that I love playing, watching, and covering. And what better place and how better to do that than go into broadcasting and talk about the sports that you watch and love.
That's so good.
That is awesome, man.
Now I can totally relate to that. I was the child that always got the note sent home that she was talking too much, and now we get paid to talk. Right?
There you go.
It's like, okay,
That's right.
why not? That's our gift.
Yeah.
We love it. So yeah, I
So
love that.
Corey, share with the audience how, you was at LaFleur, okay, and you got involved with the Pigskin Pete show, and you was reporting from there, and it just kind of snowballed from there, man, and you have just worked your way up the ladder big time, man. I think one day I'm gonna see you on ESPN hosting at night, man.
And what I really appreciate your support over the years, Coach, and that means a lot to me because when I started this journey covering LaFleur football was not ever that good. We would win 1 or 2 games, and I got started with Tim Taylor, Pigskin Pete on WNSP because no one could ever find a LaFleur football school.
Yeah.
And I would always be there covering LaFleur and got started calling into Pigskin Pete, giving him that score update that was needed on LaFleur football. And he was, okay, I like the fact that I have my LaFleur guy every single week that I can call on. And then Pigskin said, listen, you're doing a great job giving us the live updates. Would you love to come in after your game, LaFleur playing, and come cover it with us and sit in the studio until midnight and talk high school football? I said, that'd be great. I appreciate that. So that was my breakthrough moment. Tim Taylor and Pigskin Pete really gave me an opportunity to talk high school football here in Mobile County, and that was great.
And you really got exposed doing that, man. And you're so passionate about that, and you speak well, and your motivation, your desire. Then it went from there. That wasn't with Rick Cleveland on the morning show on a Saturday morning.
Yes, and that part was fun too, because what happened with Rick Cleveland, of course, Rick Cleveland, former Daphne head football coach, also assistant coach at UMS, right, and getting ready to retire this year. He said, look, you can get up early in the morning and talk even more for another 2 hours about high school athletics, not just football, but basketball, baseball, all sports. And I was like, okay, bingo. I don't mind getting up on a Saturday morning and talking high school athletics. And I did that with Coach Cleveland and Mark Lassiter for probably about maybe 15 years. We did that together. So I thank him for that opportunity to do that. But you're right, that was a lot of fun as well.
And you also,
Corey, I didn't realize it was that long.
Yes, it really was. You get started and time just goes so fast. And we went from WNSP together to FM Talk 106.5. And now it's like you said, everything goes full circle with that opportunity, but a great opportunity to cover all high school athletics. And you all know the great athletes that are here in all sports, whether it's softball, baseball, basketball, football gets all the coverage, but we have some tremendous athletes across the swimming and diving, you name it, tennis, Mobile, and Baldwin County, man, just tremendous Olympians and all these sports too. So to cover them in high school where they get their start is what makes it fun.
Absolutely. I mean, I've had friends from outside of this area in the country and stuff and say, y'all got phenomenal athletes and things going on in there. I said, we always have. Like, it's been a consistent thing throughout history.
And one thing about Corey, I've worked with him, we're going to talk about this a little later when I worked with him in Shaw, but his knowledge of all sports, he's not just zeroed in on basketball or baseball or football. I mean, this guy is very knowledgeable about all sports, man. That is really, really good. So what about the Ladd Stadium, man? You still calling the games on Friday night there?
It's great at Ladd Stadium. Paul Christopher, who used to be over at Ladd Stadium, the late Ray Russell, who used to work at 93 BLX. He is known as Jamarcus Russell's uncle. Ray Russell. Ray Russell.
Yep. Full of life, man.
Full of life.
Great guy.
Exactly. He was a morning show host on 93 BLX for the longest before his heart condition took him away from the microphone. When there was an opening at Lab, Ray said, look, I think you'd do a great job in covering and being the PA announcer at Lab People's Stadium. And there was Pinky Grant, and there was myself and one other. There's only been 3 PA announcers in the history of high school football at Lab People's Stadium.
Wow.
Yeah, there was only 3. And given that opportunity was a tremendous blessing and opportunity. And at that time, when I took the job, back maybe in 2005, it might have been, or 2006, doing the PA announcing at Lab, there were 5 teams playing at Lab People's Stadium. So you would have a Thursday night game, you'd have a Friday night game, and you'd turn around and sometimes have Saturday games as well. So that was a lot of fun and a tremendous blessing and honor to cover that many teams. When you're covering 5 teams over an 11 or 12-week period, became a lot of fun to do.
Hey, I have to be honest with you, man. When I coached Mobile for many, many years, I did not like them Saturday games, man. I messed up my college football, man.
It will. And those coaches don't like them either. They don't like them either. Those 7 o'clock p.m. Look, if I can get a 12 o'clock kickoff, even though it's hot in August, September, and October, I'd much rather have that early kickoff than go ahead and kicking me off at 2:30, 3, 4 o'clock to where you're missing the CBS game of the week.
So I kept my mind on that game that night, but I ain't gonna lie. Look at my phone. I gotta get some scores up there. What's Alabama doing right there? What's Auburn doing?
Absolutely, coach. Those Saturday games are tough.
Oh, they're tough. If you turn around, you work on Sunday, we right back up there together.
Telling the truth on the coaches now. I mean, that's the bottom line. Period.
So I got one more question before I turn it over to you,
Okay.
Coach Michelle.
Okay.
So, man, the biggest gig I like that you do, you cover the Alabama High School Athletic Association, the finals, football, basketball. Man, how did you get that gig? That's phenomenal, Corey.
I really have to thank Steve Savarese for believing in me, the executive director of the AHSAA. He heard me working with Rick Cleveland and said, look, we would love for you to come up and start covering, and got an opportunity with Brett Pritchard and Randy Lee Jr. through the AHSAA. They cover the Benjamin Russell Wildcats. So they're from that area of the state of Alabama, and working with those guys and partnering with people who I have never worked with before, that opportunity came up. And it's just like with anything else. You just get prepared, you learn, you do your homework, and you work with someone that you haven't worked with before. And just to have the opportunity to cover state championship games at the Super 7, whether it was in Birmingham or whether it's in Tuscaloosa or whether it's in Auburn, it didn't matter where the Super 7 was held, to cover state championship games and then the Final Four in Birmingham for basketball, and just did bowling for the first year here as well. So I'm learning a lot about the sport of bowling and how that works. And it's just been a blessing, and just, I have to credit again Steve Savarese for believing into me, and the outgoing director, Alvin Briggs, for continuing to believe in me and giving me that opportunity to go ahead and cover these student athletes playing in championship events. Has been special.
That just excites me thinking about it. Like, I'm gonna have to just come hang out with you sometime, Corey.
Anytime.
I would have loved it to have gone on into broadcasting or journalism in college. So that'd be right up my alley. But I do want to ask you the next question. Is it my turn?
It's your turn, Coach. Go ahead.
Okay. So what's your routine leading up to your show? Do you have anything specific, or like, what's your normal routine leading up to your show?
So I'm a big Twitter guy. I love X, as it's now called. There's short bursts of information. Anybody can go to ESPN and find out what the storylines be. But the great thing about sports is the storyline today and this hour may not be the story of the day by the time you get on the air at 3 o'clock.
That's
because there's so many different things that can transpire. And unlike the morning show that's on WNSP from 6 to 9, I go from 3 to 6, and there's so many stories that happen in between while I'm on the air. And I'll give you a prime example of that. Coach Saban retiring.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You look back in January and I thought it was just fake news. I didn't want to believe it. And this happens in real time as you're on the air and you're breaking news.
And it was between 3 and 6.
There
He was
you
on
go.
there.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, right around 4:15, you're sitting there and you have your lineup for the day. Preparing your show just goes, okay, well, whatever we were going to talk about, it now
We gotta
changes.
make it shift.
And that's the biggest thing about preparing. So you look at what the headlines are, whether it's on Sports Center or Fox Sports, you see where Yahoo Sports, you see what's going on locally from AL.com, and you just put a hodgepodge of everything together, and you go from local to nationally to back out to internationally, and then you bring it back in, because the great thing about radio is, you know, your average listeners in their car, maybe 15 or 20 minutes. So you have new stories or the same story that you're going to recycle in a different way every hour that I do my show. So how do I prepare? I just focus in on ESPN, Yahoo, watch a lot of talk shows in the morning to see what their topics are and relevant points, and just go from there.
And then wait on a dime in case that breaking news comes in and you have to make that little bit of a shift.
You know, like being a football coach, I mean, I shared this with Corey before we got on the air, is you know, you got all week to prepare. You know, you got a game plan and you install it, and you know, usually by Thursday, if the hay's not in the barn, you know, you don't have it. But Corey's game days every single day, man. You got to bring it. You got to prepare, so you don't go on the air, like you said, from 3 o'clock. You know, things changes throughout the day. And I mean, you got to bring it at 3 o'clock. It's game day every day for you, man. And you bring it
fun. That's fun, Coach. I appreciate that compliment. And like you said, just the preparation part starts from the time you really wake up to the time, because when you go to sleep, the news overnight changes quickly. And you just have to be ready to adapt to that, and just know what your big talking points are, and know where you want to go in between those talking points as well. And I'm only going to be as good as my guests allow me to be. That's one of the things I love. I love talking to people.
We're going to get to that in a few minutes about your
like,
guests.
how do you get your phenomenal guests? Because they're incredible. Like,
I appreciate that. I mean, it's fun to where throughout my 15 or 20 years of doing this, you make contacts, and you people trust you, and they're willing to talk to you. And I don't know a high school coach or a college coach out there that does not want to continue to brand their program and to talk about their program and to get people excited about their program. And when they know you have a platform in order to do so, they're all aboard. And whether it is Rush Probst talking to him, or whether it's Nick Saban or Coach DeBoer, it doesn't matter. Whether it's Bruce Pearl from a basketball standpoint, or our local coach Richie Riley from basketball here, Nate Oates, it doesn't matter. You just want to be prepared when you get the opportunity to talk to people that can only give you 10 minutes of their time, because their schedule is so hectic and busy. But picking a guest every day, you just want to try to find a local guest or a local topic. And there's high school athletics going on 12 months out of the year, not just when they're in school, out of school too. So it just makes it so easy. And the coaches here are so accessible here locally and really nationally as well.
And always so willing. They always just, like you said, they're so willing to, you know, jump in and share about what's going on.
Absolutely.
I know we have a large event, and I'm super excited to make this little plug real quick for Victory Health Partners. We have Tim Tebow coming here to Mobile April 30th. So if you have not gotten your dinner tickets, reach out. I will also link that in the show notes. But just thinking about that, like, it's Tim Tebow, you know, and he's coming here to Mobile to speak on behalf of Victory Health Partners. And just thinking about those little bits of time that you can grab with athletes or coaches like that is just unreal.
Yeah. And I'll share. I don't know if you do this or not, but we will be broadcasting live from the Mobile Convention Center in regards to the Victory Health and Tim Tebow. So I'm excited to have an opportunity to talk to the people who are bringing Tim Tebow in, Victory Health, and getting a chance to hear their story, how they brought about Tim Tebow, what made them select Tim Tebow, and just excited about that.
It really is. And I've served with them on the development council with Victory for almost 5 years, and just to be behind the scenes and to know them. I mean, and when you get to meet them and then you hear the story of Dr. Lightfoot and Miss Tammy, it's unreal what they do and serve in our community and along the Gulf Coast. But how God opened that door and favor for Tim to be able to work it into his schedule to come and be here. So I'm so glad you guys are going to be there.
Absolutely.
Actually, Tyler,
Yes.
T-Mac.
T-Mac,
Yeah.
T-Mac and I are going to be there early. We're going to be serving, so I'll get to see you.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful. Looking forward to
Yes.
that phenomenal event. And Tim Tebow, not too often. Last time he was in Mobile, Alabama was probably for the Senior Bowl, and
Yeah.
we know he sold out the Senior Bowl
Yep.
there at Lab Eagle. So
Yep.
How
looking
close
forward
is
to
it
him.
bit sell out on this?
It's
event?
very close. Like there's only maybe a few seats left. Now they have opened up. This is really awesome. There's $50 wing seats. If anybody's interested, and it won't be dinner, but you can, for $50, you can come and be in the atmosphere and get to hear him right there live. So there's $50 seats. They're called wing seats. And I think there are a few dinner tickets left. They're $150 to have dinner and be seated at the table. It's almost a complete sellout.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
good.
So
All right.
anyway, I know we got off track on that. And
That's great.
I
That's a great track
just-
to take.
I'm excited that you're
Yeah.
going to be there. So
That makes it better.
he really, you answered my next question, was how you gathered your information, basically,
Yeah.
on your sports and your guests. So yeah.
Okay. Well, and Corey, you also might have mentioned this earlier. Talk about once again about where did this love for sports and broadcasting come from?
I think that my mom, Sarah Lynn Andrews, and my dad, who's gone on to heaven, they really blessed me with the opportunity to pick and choose what I wanted to do. They didn't make me play anything or didn't make me go to anything. They wanted me to finish whatever I started, and it instilled in me to finish what I started. But at the same time, the passion that I have for sports really started just by wanting to play it at an elite level. And a lot of my peers, growing up, there was not a lot of game systems. There was not a lot of computers. There was not any social media. So it's go out and play or swim or go
Yep.
hang out in the neighborhood and play pickup basketball and football and just be active and just allow me to be active and taking part in YMCA activities and with teams. You start learning and building, and I tell y'all, I'm tremendously blessed, and I thank my mom. I told you she worked at South Alabama. My dad, my godmother was a student at South Alabama and got me hooked up with the basketball team and Ronnie Arrow.
You stole my thunder, man.
Wow.
My next question. God, you stole my man. And I'm thinking right now.
Got me hooked up,
All right.
and that's all it took.
All
I
right.
mean, to be around people like
I
Coach
love
Aaron, the
that.
basketball
Ball team.
program.
All right. I'm gonna add a little
Wind
something
it
to
back.
that. So 1989.
That's right.
Alabama
That's
was playing
right.
South Alabama in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Okay. Peanut butter and jelly. Jeff Hodges that shot and wins the game, beats Alabama. Of course, I love Alabama and South Alabama. So Ronnie Arrow's running around, jumping around, trying to find somebody to hug. And guess who he finds? Corey LaBounty. If this is how much he loves sports, Corey, correct me if I'm wrong, he was the ball boy,
I was
wasn't
the
he?
ball
And you
boy.
was, involved with South Alabama basketball.
Right.
And I tried to find that clip and put it on the show, Corey. And I started to call you. I wanted to get that clip and add it into the show tonight, man.
It is one of those one-shining moments to where you see the way the NCAA tournament is really blown up now from a television standpoint. But you think back, and I was in the 5th grade in 1989, like you said, March 17th to be exact. You have a little luck of the Irish, St. Patrick's Day.
Yep.
And, Wimp Sanderson, Alabama would not play South Alabama. But the NCAA tournament said, yeah, you will too. You're going to do it in the first round at the Omni in Atlanta.
Yep.
And we were down 19 points. And I say we because I was the ball boy and part of that team that traveled and went up to Atlanta to see the game. And they had Robert Ory and Melvin Cheatham and Gary Wade's and
Michael
all these,
Ainsley played on the
Michael
team.
Ainsley.
Inside,
And I
big
mean,
body,
it was
yeah.
unbelievable the type of talent that Wimp Sanderson had in the SEC at that time. And we're a little old South Alabama and wound up being down 19 points. And I saw Coach Era punch a hole in the chalkboard at halftime.
Wow.
He was so upset with the way that the Jags were playing. And I'll
I think
never
it was
forget.
chills,
I
man.
mean, he punched a hole, and I mean, it really it woke me, it scared me and woke me up for sure.
Yeah.
And I know how the players must have felt like, look, first half is done. The next 20 minutes, South Alabama beats them at the buzzer, and it's just one of those one shining moments.
Yeah.
The greatest moment in South Alabama athletics history so far in any sport, because you beat Alabama.
And I'll never forget Gabe Estaba inside.
Gabe Estaba, that's right.
Man,
the Venezuelan bandit.
Oh, yeah. He was the only big guy that had it.
Yes.
He was holding his own, man.
And that was so much fun. And it's such a special moment because you can go back and reflect on it some 30 years later. And Coach Era jokes at me all the time. He said, LaBounty, I'm not picking you up now. I'll catch a hernia. You know, I'm not
gonna.
Yes.
But you know what?
Special.
And I love it. We're getting to talk about this. It wasn't on the script. I love this kind of stuff. You know what? They played on the 17th. The 18th was my birthday. A buddy of mine already went up there. Teddy Erickson and Shirley went to the Alabama game. So I said, man, we're going to Atlanta. We got to see them play Michigan. Okay.
Yes.
That was Thursday, Saturday, was it Friday, Sunday?
It was definitely a Thursday, Saturday.
So we drove up to the Michigan game. And correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't that the Michigan part of the 5-5? Was that the 5-5?
It was prior to them. This Michigan team
won the national championship that year. And South was beating them at halftime.
Yes, we were up by 9 points
At
against the
halftime,
eventual
and they went on to win the national. I was there, man.
Glenn Rice,
That's
Terry
right.
Mills. They had 6 or 7 professionals on that Michigan Wolverine. On that one roster, Ramil Robinson was their point guard, and he wound up hitting the winning free throw to win the national championship against Seton Hall. But when you go back and, you know, you're 11 years old, you don't really understand and comprehend what you were witnessing and what you were watching at that time. And you go back now and you look at the stat line and the stat sheet from that game and see how many future pros for Michigan were on that floor. And it was a special time.
You know, and you know what? I hate to say this, but me and my buddies, we was talking smack to those. Alabama from the Sun Belt, baby. Let's go. And they're beating us. Now we got out of there real quick. Hey, Jeff Hodge and Judy Lewis drafted.
Yes, both of them got drafted. Jeff was drafted by the Dallas Mavericks. Junie was drafted by the Utah Jazz. And what wound up happening is both of them, Jeff made it a little bit further than Junie did. John Stockton, pretty good point guard that played for the Utah Jazz back then.
Karl Malone.
Yeah, there you go. And Junie got into it a little bit with John Stockton, and it was kind of frowned upon there to get into it with the superstar and all-star there. And Jeff, he got beat out, but still had an opportunity to play professional ball. Still talk to Jeff, and Junie lives in Pennsylvania doing well. So just the relationships that has always been kept there, not only by Coach Air, but the guys, the players too. That's
I love it. I get fired up because you guys just inspire me. I tell Coach all the time, and I know you hear me say it. You guys can remember the colors, the jerseys, the numbers, the players, the names.
Regardless of the sport.
Regardless, you go
go
from sport to sport, and you can still hit it.
Yes.
I love it. So who's your absolute most favorite and influential player?
I would say,
or influential person in your life, or you know.
From a player standpoint, I'm a Michael Jordan fan. Always will be a Michael Jordan fan. I call him the greatest of all time, and it was great to see him on television this weekend as an owner finally getting a chance to win, because Michael Jordan, the owner of the Charlotte Hornets, was horrible, and he couldn't play and coach. So the fact that Michael Jordan inspired me as an athlete. Now, as far as my favorite person, it's going to be definitely my mom. My mom motivates me each and every day. She's listening, tuning in to the show, and calling me up before the show and saying, hey, who's going to be on the show today. And she's a Vanderbilt graduate. God bless her. She's a Vanderbilt Commodore graduate. And the Commodores, we know how they are in football. Baseball's a whole different story. She can tell you anything about Vanderbilt's entire football, basketball, baseball roster, doesn't matter. Even the bowling team that have won a national championship, my mom's all in for. So my mom, she's my biggest inspiration, and she really has kept me grounded and keeps me, you know, even though when things sometimes go bad, like in the profession, she's like, look, Corey, just keep your head down, keep doing what you're doing, and things are gonna go well. So I would say definitely my mom is my biggest motivation.
Corey, that's so awesome.
Man.
I mean, there's nothing like hearing a grown man talk about his mom. Still.
Yeah, I love my mom. You only have one, and
right.
you know, like I said, my dad has passed away, and I know that you have a guardian angel looking down on you. It's really saying, look, you know, I supported you then, I'm supporting you now. It's just from heaven, and the opportunity here for my mom to still be listening to me, be of sound mind and body, and to be able to talk to her about sports. That part is great because, you know, my girlfriend, Angelisa, she loves Auburn, which is a dirty word to me. But you know, she's one that she motivates me as well and has kept me grounded and kept me going here on this. You know, I just finished year number 1 on WNSP. So she's one that really has kept me grounded as well.
And she's a supporter.
Very supportive. Even though she's an Auburn fan, she's still supportive.
Well,
and
listen,
she gives
I'm gonna
Here we
step
go.
in right here now. Angelisa, War Eagle, baby.
That must be true love if I'm marrying an Auburn girl.
That's what I love. Look,
True love.
when Coach told me the way.
Look around in the landscape,
Auburn
man.
girls
I love it.
Auburn girls are pretty
I love it.
and
We
we're
got
smart.
Alabama helmets over there. First signed by E.J. McCarron.
I love it.
I love Bama. I love Bama. My heart is with Auburn, and Auburn girls are smart and pretty. So you got you a good one.
All right, Corey. Speaking of football, let's switch gears. Talk about some football.
Yes,
man.
sir.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I know you've been to a lot of different press conferences. You had the opportunity to sit at a press conference, asking Nick Saban some questions, and you've been to Coach DeBoer. Talk about the difference, man, the kind of press conference when you sit down with those guys.
You know, Nick Saban, you're scared to ask him the wrong question. I know the few times that I've had a chance to ask a question to Nick Saban, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be the one that's going to go viral for the wrong reason. Is he going to pick on me today? He will wear you out. Even if you ask a great question, he's still, and Miss Terry, when I met Miss Terry this year for the first time at the Iron Bowl after the 4th and 31, I told her, I said, Miss Terry, thank you so much for working with Coach Saban and having him to not have me scared to death to ask him because I really thought I would be the one that would go viral.
Yeah.
Now my co-host asked him a question at SEC Media Days this year, and he answered it, but he did go viral. He went viral, and Coach Saban didn't go off on him, but he let him know. What'd you say? Like, did you ask him that question? He asked him about what he listens to before the game. What's his
I
play
remember
music?
that. Yeah.
And I thought it was a great question.
I do remember that.
But Coach Saban, he was like, listen, I don't have a playlist. And he wasn't too happy about the question. But no, the biggest difference is Coach DeBoer, you know, just more lighthearted. And you know, he's learning the media here locally. Yeah. So he knows that Coach Saban, when you've been around for 17 years, you know all the talking heads, you know people who are going to be asking you questions. And Coach DeBoer is learning. And I look forward to him coming down here to Mobile, the team focus, being here and having a chance to talk with him again there. But Coach DeBoer is really much more laid back and he's going to listen to your question. And you're not really worried about going viral for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah. What was it? Tyler was so good. T-Mac did his press conference and he said, talk to the Coke.
Yeah.
Ask the Coke the question.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of those things that you're like, okay, if you can hear my voice and he gives that response,
Yeah.
you're like,
I'm out.
oh, you know,
I'm
okay,
out.
you know, oops, you know, but no, I love Coach Saban and always will wish him the best in his retirement. And when you get a chance to know him and his players who do know him, one of the most down to earth people. But you know, media members, we're definitely not his friend in regards to asking him questions that he may ask us why. And it's funny now because now he's the media member. So he gets a chance to be on the other side of it and fire away. So that part of everything goes full circle. But Coach DeBoer is a great guy. He's going to do that.
He sounds like it, man.
Are you guys going to be at the Team Focus
We
event?
will. I'll be
well?
in Team Focus covering that event and having an opportunity to support that cause because Coach Godfrey does a great job with Team Focus. And what a great way to introduce Coach DeBoer to not only Team Focus, but also to the Mobile, Baldwin County, and other alumni who haven't had a chance to hear or see him in person. So what a great opportunity there.
We just talked to Miss Dolores there at Team Focus, and I was asking her about the tickets and what was left. So we were talking about being able to take knack to that one as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I love what they do over there. Yeah. All right, where we at, Coach?
All right. Corey, let's talk about our days at Shaw High School.
Yes, sir.
All right. So you got to understand something. I've been knowing Corey for a long time. And I graduated from Shaw High School, started coaching at Shaw in 1989 with Henry Hardy, and I worked with Terry Curtis, and all these coaches came through Shaw. About this time, I guess it was in the early 90s when Corey was actually working at Shaw, and he was assistant basketball coach for the girls team. And so, you know, I love all sports, and I had the opportunity to coach basketball. And so I got to coach the JV basketball team. Man, I had some dudes could get up down the floor to go. And so I started talking to Corey one day. I said, Corey, man, I got some guys to play, man. I want to kind of, you know, take our program, sort of look like the Arkansas Razorbacks, Nolan Richardson, man, the way they pressed, you know, the entire game. So Corey came up, man, showed me this press, and ended up, you know, we ended up going 16-1, won the JV basketball. But we had some great times at Shaw High School, man.
No doubt about it, Coach. I mean, when you're at a school, you mentioned earlier about why I didn't go to Shaw and having a chance to go full circle. That was a time, maybe 6 to 7 years, to where I had a chance to be in the trenches at Shaw and understand what it meant to be a Shaw Rebel and to get that experience and to work with some great people like yourself and work great administration as well. And those times at Shaw, second to none, because you look at growing up in the community, knowing the people that went to Shaw, whether it was through Hillsdale or through Scarborough, and then going on to Shaw and the great coaches that you just mentioned, being around some great coaches and watching yourself not only coach baseball, basketball, football. It wasn't just a one sport. It was truly loving all sports that were, well, it could even be golf or soccer or tennis. I know that you were diehard right there with all the student athletes that were, and supporting all the student athletes, and to be able to work with you at Shaw and to be able to build that friendship there was awesome. And some of my favorite times are at Shaw, not because I wasn't a student, but being an educator and a teacher there and being part of that Shaw family is fun.
Yeah, no doubt. And Corey, you know, guys, if he didn't want to go into broadcasting, he could have been a coach. I mean, you know, you always say if you enjoy what you're doing, you never work a day in your life. And Corey's living his dream right now. But I promise you, Corey would have made an outstanding coach, man. He decided not to go into the broadcasting business.
Coach, I appreciate that.
Oh, anytime, brother. All right, Coach Michelle, what you got over there?
Well, what gets you motivated? Like, what gets you pumped up, and what's your favorite thing about what you do?
I would say the motivation is just being able to live my dream. It's not, if you love it, it's not work. And that's the one thing that's my motivation is every day I get up. Some people dread going there. It's just me and whatever information is given to me through sports or whatever information from a sporting standpoint I want to share. So it could be my own personal story. It could be a story that I've heard somebody else tell, and I'm sharing it with the listeners because that opportunity to talk sports for 3 hours It's not work. It's just a dream that I'm living. So that's my motivation every day to get out of the bed and say, look, I'm not going to a job. I'm going to do something that I really love and I'm passionate about and that I could share with others. And people, if they agree or disagree with me, I love the fact that we have people that disagree with me all the time. And the fact that you can teach me something every single day because Lord knows I don't have an answer for everything. And when people say, look at it like this, or this is why I look at it like that, that's my motivation. Just the listeners, the feedback, not only in our app, some good, some bad, some indifferent. You just learn that that's part of the constructive criticism that you take being a radio personality. And absolutely, it's not work. It's just a passion.
Corey, that's so awesome because like sharing that with the younger generation and letting them know that they can chase their dreams, they can make a career and an income out of what fires them up. And what I know, and what better thing to do than to feel like you have to go to a job every day where you don't enjoy it and you're just making a paycheck.
And that's the great thing that when I was hired at WNSP, I got a chance to really sit there and reflect after this first year and say, listen, for an entire year, you've been doing something that others, when they get in the car and they listen, they choose to turn to 105.5. They choose to listen to what you're talking about. They choose to give you feedback on what you're saying that may be wrong, that may be right, that may be something they don't agree with. And that's what I love about it, the fact that I have interaction on my job. I'm talking about what I'm passionate about. I get to share my passion, and people get to share their passion with me as well. And whether it's Alabama or Auburn, South Alabama, Troy, it doesn't matter, Baker versus MGM, you find any rivalry that people see two different sides of, you get a chance to mediate that every day.
And you get to hang out with some of the coolest
people. This is great.
The coolest people.
I'm with two of my favorites right now, for sure. For sure.
Well, we appreciate that. We're about to wrap it up, Corey. A couple more questions for you, man. So I want you to tell our audience something that they don't know about you, man. What's a hobby? Something, get away from sports and broadcasting, man. Tell us something neat about Corey LaBounty and what he likes to do.
I think that something that people don't know a lot about me is that I just enjoy. I don't have a fishing hobby. I don't have a golfing hobby. I don't do that. I don't sing. I don't dance. The talent that God has blessed me with is to talk. So just the fact that I communicate. That's a lot of people have their getaway. I love to sit and catch up on my DVR. That's one of the things that when in the sporting season, especially when football rolls around, my DVR gets full because I'm sitting recording all these shows and I'm watching football on Sunday and Monday and Tuesday, and I'll have that one day to where I can just sit and relax, watch and catch up on my DVR. And I tell you, I get fussed at all the time because I'll go to sleep watching SportsCenter and I'll wake up watching SportsCenter. That's how I'm consumed, and I get talked about it. My brother makes fun of me all the time. My mom, she makes fun of me, but it's a good band. But no, the thing about me is that I just love to sit and it's not movies necessarily. It doesn't matter anything that I record, Netflix, DVR, Hulu. If I record it and get a chance to go back and watch it, that's something a lot of people don't know. I just love watching movies and television and catching up on my
DVR. That's awesome, man.
That's cool. That's a great hobby.
It's free in regards to it doesn't cost me anything to sit in but my time. So that's the only thing. That's the only thing it costs me is my time.
But if it helps you chill out, unwind, unclutter the mind for a little bit so that you can get up and be empowered to go again, then hey, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, can you tell us just a little bit before we wrap it up about your faith?
Sure, absolutely.
Tell us about your faith and what that means to you, Corey.
One of the great things that my mom and dad, the biggest blessing that they did for me was bring me up in the church. And I was brought up in the Church of Christ. And and the fact that, was able to get baptized and know that when I leave here, where I'm going, when my mom and dad and when my dad passed away, I knew where he's going to be. The fact that I can say I have a guardian angel at all times, and we all have lost loved ones, but the fact that I know that my loved ones are in better places, and when I leave this earth, I'm going to be in a better place, and I know my maker. My faith is very important, and when people ask me how I'm doing all the time, I mean, my biggest answer is I'm too blessed to be stressed, or I'm blessed by the best. Those are my two go-to sayings. Whenever somebody asks me that, that's normally the answer that you're going to get from me. And those two things.
But you genuinely believe that. That's not just a response.
No, that is a true, honest response that I have through my faith. And if I didn't have faith, I couldn't say that, because there are things that stress us all out. But because the good book tells me how I can handle stress and the way a better day is going to come, and what I've been promised, and what I know that where I'm going to be and where you're going to be and where you're going to be one day, that part, when you look at it, the big picture of things, that's something that I love about my job, that I'm allowed to, again, talk about my faith and don't shy away from my faith. Anybody who knows me knows what my faith does mean to.
So good.
Man, that is really,
so
really
good.
good.
Being led by, God. I always say God is my CEO now, because I'm not afraid of that. I'm not ashamed of that. Like, he is my CEO, but being led by that, you're in your purpose, you're in your passion, you're in your calling, and you're gifted and anointed for what you're doing. And that's why it's so peaceful, and you love it so much, no matter what stress may come your way.
That's right. And I just know that, that God's hands on Corey right now. Look at him and his professional, man. I remember we worked together, like I said, at Shaw a few years ago. Now he is just giving God all the glory, and he keeps blessing, not just Corey, us too, but it's amazing, man. It just, we have a great God. And I'm so thankful.
And all the seeds that you were sowing in those early years, Corey, just look at how everything has come to a harvest for you, and just complete fruition, and God's just put you in those places and positions.
You said a mouthful then, and that's what you just said resonates with me, because you get planted seeds. You don't know why you meet certain people, or when you meet people, what opportunity they're going to give you in life, and being in the right place at the right time. But having faith behind that is, faith without works is dead. So it's just the opportunity to be able to put that in motion, and have purpose prayer and purpose driven prayer. That's what, when you pray about something, and God's going to hear you. He may not give it to you when you want it, but it's always right on time. And that's where my situation has been. It may not have been as soon as I wanted it, when I wanted it, but he put it for me right on time.
Exactly, on his timing.
Absolutely.
And if he didn't want it or have it in your destiny or your plan, then shut the door and take the desire away. That's what I say. God, just take the desire away. If it's not of you, shut the door. And if not, we're going. I'm walking. I'm going to plant those seeds, because I know you're bringing the harvest. And I just love watching everything happen for you in your life, Corey. You are a complete blessing, a tremendous blessing, not only to our community network, but online, on the radio station. And just to think that it started from you back at LaFleur High School, just wanting to call the scores in.
I mean,
you just wanted the scores to get on with Pigskin Pete.
That's it.
I mean, that's a powerful story and testimony.
What a story. Yes.
And we're so blessed and so honored that you're doing what you do, and that you were a talker growing up, and you get to utilize it now. And I'm going to run with that story too, because you're in your element. You're in your gifting. You're in your calling. And there is nothing better than that.
I can't thank you guys enough for allowing me to share my story, and to tell a little bit about my mom and my dad and my upbringing, and how I got to where I am today, sitting next to you two guys, and what you're, the platform that you've allowed me to become a part of. I can't thank you enough because again, the documentation that we'll have forever now, it's not like it's a VHR to it erases itself or the tape breaks. The internet is forever. And that's the part of social media to where when I'm long gone, we can still talk about your faith, my faith, our faith, and how we got to where we're sharing God's dream and God's vision for us as well.
Absolutely. And we hope this has encouraged you. We hope that you will go find Corey LaBounty, look him up. We're going to link it in our show notes, and you need to go follow the radio station and listen to the drive time.
3 to 6 every afternoon.
3 to 6
The Final
every
Drive,
day.
105.5 WNSP.
Yep.
You need to listen to that show.
Yep. And just follow him, and just know he's somebody you definitely would be blessed that's in your life.
All right.
Well, I think that's time to go,
Time to
Coach.
go.
What's
4th and
that?
2.
It's 4th and 2. What are we gonna do? What you gonna do?
All right, guys. See you next time.
Good night.